welcome to episode 2 of Off the Shelf, your one-stop shop for all of the latest news from the library and in a wider literary world. I'm Mr. Humphries.
I'm Miss Ria.
So we'll start by talking about a few new arrivals aimed at a younger audience. So my first choice is The Way to Impossible Island by Sophie Kirtley. Now this is a classic take on that old well-worn trope about a bunch of children who go on an adventure to an exciting new place, but it's got a bit of a twist. Because one of the main characters is a girl from the Stone Age. Literally a girl from the Stone Age. What is she doing there? She's been magically transplanted from the Stone Age, and she accompanies the main character. But it riffs on the word impossible in other ways. Obviously, it's impossible she's there, but the boy, he's had an operation, and so it's like he thinks, oh, my adventure to this island is impossible. This island is impossible to get to. And basically it's about rethinking what is possible and what is impossible as we go on the various adventures throughout our life. So that looks like a good, uplifting, colourful read. Nice. Yeah, I think so. Very nice. You know, we like nice reads, don't we, in this room? Next up, we've got The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan. Now, this is actually a children's version of a very, very well-known history book. Now, this was published, the adults version was published back in 2015, and it was considered to be a really important and seminal text because it challenged the traditional assumption that Western civilization was primarily inspired by ancient Greek, ancient Rome civilizations, maybe even the ancient Egyptians, and it just sort of made us rethink that. So it was very influential. Now what he's done is he's made it more sort of friendly for a younger audience, and it's got some really beautiful illustrations. So there's a very beautiful map of the world, and you know throughout. So it's done chronologically. There's another map. And so it's just really, really engaging and eye-catching. So it's a really great thing that they brought what is considered to be one of the most important history books to a new, wider, younger audience.
More accessible.
More accessible, absolutely. So there you go. So that's my second choice. And then I'm a month late with this one, I'm afraid. October. It's November now, but October by Katia Balin. So this one, it's about a girl called October, that's her actual name, who lives a sort of quite idyllic, nice existence in the countryside with her father. All is well. It's very beautifully written, but then something happens to her father and it all gets turned upside down. So it's another novel, I think, about sort of finding yourself in beautifully written prose. So it's all about, again, finding the wonder in sort of like, you know, seemingly everyday things. So I think it's perfect for fans of, you know, Kieran Millward-Hargrave.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and maybe Sophie Anderson as well, the girl who speaks bear.
Catherine Rundell, maybe.
Catherine Rundell's another very good example. So she could be, that sort of thing. So she could be the next big thing in this particular subgenre. So yeah, Katia Balin, there's a name to look out for.
It looks lovely.
And yes, exactly, beautiful cover, beautiful story, beautiful content. So yeah, something to definitely look out for. There's a name to look out for, I think. Okay, thank you.
Lovely. All right, I'll go into the books for older readers. I'm going to start with The Comfort Book by Matt Haig, beloved Matt Haig. This one isn't necessarily just for older readers, but there are a few things that are maybe a little bit more heavy to deal with. It would sort of depend on your tolerance level, really. But I'll introduce it with a quote from page 51 that sums it up nicely. This is a little sort of tidbit called Pizza. The sky isn't more beautiful if you have perfect skin. Music doesn't sound more interesting if you have a six-pack. Dogs aren't better company if you're famous. Pizza tastes good regardless of your job title. The best of life exists beyond the things we are encouraged to crave.
Oh.
Pretty good.
He's really good at that, isn't he? He's sort of like a little snapshot summary, pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, but essentially that's what this book is. It's lots of little poems and tidbits and sections aimed to sort of bring you comfort, basically. It does what it says on the tin. If you're feeling a bit out of sorts, it's the perfect kind of book. I'm halfway through it at the moment and I'm really enjoying it.
Feeling comforted?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Excellent.
Definitely recommend this one.
Very heartwarming.
Yes, very. Next, I will talk about another non-fiction book, The Authority Gap by Marianne Sieghart, I think it's called. This sounds a lot like Invisible Women, which was a bestseller a few years ago, and it was about all the invisible injustices in the world towards women, little things like that. But this one goes more into the unseen biases that favour men in the workplace. I think it's a bit more data heavy by the sounds of it, a bit more scientific. There's a few little bits in here that sort of numbers and science and things. So if you're into that side of it, this sounds like a really good read. Really interesting, I think. Yeah, haven't actually read it, but I'm interested to start it.
Yeah, I think it's a must read for anyone, especially anyone
Yeah.
who thinks mansplaining is one of their big bugbears.
Yeah.
It could be the book for you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though because it's going to be more about the workplace specifically, which
Happens in a workplace too.
is really interesting. Invisible Women, for example, was a lot broader. It was just about general life, you know, hospitals and cars and things like that. But this one is authority-based, like workplace. So yeah, very interesting read. If EPQ or something like that would be perfect for that. So yeah, and I'll finish with my non-fiction choice, which is not perhaps as comforting as the Matt Haig book.
Not to judge by that cover, no.
No, Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco, I think.
Don't look at me.
No.
So apologies, we're not going to pronounce all these names right.
But this sounds really interesting. It sounds like a very dark, thrilling murder mystery. It's about witches, family secrets, and some mythology thrown in there. Basically, it's set in the 19th century and it follows two Sicilian sisters who are Strenge, I think it is. It's a difficult word to read. But they're a strain of witches who live secretly among the humans. So I think that setting is really, really interesting to have something witchy, not just set in America or England. Often those are the places that you see. So this will be a really interesting read. I'm going to pick this up and read it, I think, next. But yeah, essentially something happens to one of the sisters, they're twins, and it takes them to, or what takes one of the sisters to hell, essentially.
Ooh.
Sort of, or like the Greek mythology version of hell. Something along those lines. I haven't read it, so I don't know, but that's what the blurb led me to believe. So
sounds like a lot going on there, really.
Yeah. I think it's going to be one you have to read for things to make sense.
Right.
But essentially, if you like mythology, gothic novels, thrillers, this sounds like it has a bit of everything. And I know a lot of our readers
A lot of our readers do, yes.
Dark, mysterious reads.
Indeed. Yeah, very striking sounding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are my three choices.
Excellent. Thanks, Mr. Rio. Right, so next segment now we're going to move on to talk about some things that are going on in a wider literary world. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Dune movie that has been released. Now, sci-fi fans rejoice. It's been in the works for a long time. It's been long awaited. And by all accounts, it sounds absolutely fantastic. It's got glowing reviews. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dune is considered to be one of the most important, one of the best ever sci-fi novels. It's been really influential. And if you think about the actual premise, it's set in a world where there's warring factions that in this galactic empire has been overseen by this tyrannical emperor, and the planet that it's primarily set on is a barren wasteland. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, it should. Because basically, Star Wars, without this book, there would have been no Star Wars. So that's how seminally influential it is. Now there was a somewhat shall we say, divisive movie made by David Lynch back in the 1980s. This one, though, looks like it's really captured it very well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I was hoping to see it over half time, didn't get a chance to. But yeah, that's something to look out for. Whether you're a fan of sci-fi or not, if you're just a fan of big epic movies, I think it's something to check out. And then, of course, read the book, which we have just behind Mr. Rio here on these shelves.
Yeah. It's got some big names in it as well, hasn't it?
It does.
So
yes.
That's usually a
usually
a good sign.
An indicator of quality and probably a big budget. So yeah, it looks like to me a must see, definitely.
I think so. I will next talk about the Booker Prize. The winner was announced last night.
It was.
And the winner was Damon Galgut with The Promise, as was, you know, Lit Talk, we spoke about this.
We did.
But essentially this is a book that charts the crash and burn of a white South African family during the transition out of apartheid.
Ooh.
So, yeah, apparently it's an amazing read. I saw it described online as a tour de force. So, can't really get much better than that.
Indeed. It was, I don't know what the odds are. This was quite an open year, wasn't it? In terms of who was going to win, so... There
was a real mix. It was really difficult to find one that really stood out. But by the sounds of it, this is really amazing and really
A worthy winner.
worthy winner, yeah. And this is his third win, so
Is it?
clearly he's doing something right, Damon Galgut.
Are you sure it's his third win or was it his third nomination? I
Apparently
can't.
his third win.
Ah,
That's what I saw online.
wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, he's
Okay, maybe he's an author whose books we should get
Yeah.
ourselves more acquainted with. Okay, so on the subject of prizes and science as well, actually. So we had started with the science fiction movie, then we took up the Booker Prize. Next one I want to talk about is the Royal Society Science Prize. So science and the prize that we talked about just now. So this is an award that goes to the best popular science book that is written across the year, and the shortlist has got a very good range of things. We've got a book that explores unconscious bias. We've got a book that explores the importance of breathing. Now, we all know that breathing is important, but in this modern age, apparently we're not breathing properly. We've lost the ability to breathe properly. So that's another one. And then, this is my personal favourite, there is a book on mushrooms, fungi, just about fungi, and why they're actually very important. In the way that bees are important, apparently fungi are also important too. They are absolutely indispensable to our way of life, to sustaining the ecosphere, etc., etc. And the author, I think his name's like Merlin Sheldrake. So
good name.
yeah, absolutely. So in the accompanying newsletter to this, there is a link to the shortlist, and so anyone who's interested in science should definitely be checking these books out.
Sounds good. I think I'll pick that one up. Sounds
The mushrooms one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like mushrooms?
Well, I like to find out about things that we think are sort of everyday that actually end up being really integral, like bees. I find it really interesting how it all.
How
connects.
How mushrooms are that integral to us.
Well, you see them everywhere, so that actually does make
True.
a lot of sense now you said it.
Yeah, true. As you're walking along and
You
there's
just
green
see-
space, you see them growing.
Yeah, there you go. So I will end with sort of literary news. We've got a list here of some Christmas gift ideas. Basically, these are quite literary based, but if you need an idea for a family member, for a friend, or just anyone else, we've got a list here. We'll start off with J.K. Rowling's new book, The Christmas Pig, which will probably be great for younger siblings, or just anyone who loves her writing, or fantasy, or just Christmas in general.
Agreed. Ticks all those boxes.
Yeah, there's a Japanese translation book called The Cat Who Saved Books, which sounds lovely. That's on Waterstone's website at the moment. The Word Perfect by Susie Dent for any book lovers in your life. She's on Countdown.
Yeah, countdown maybe. Dictionary corner.
Yeah, but that sounds great. It's just about how good words are and some good words in the dictionary that we might not have heard of. So yeah, if you have anyone in your life that likes that sort of thing, that would be perfect. There's also Harry Potter, A Magical Year, which is a new book on the art of Harry Potter, which looks really lovely. So again, any Harry Potter lovers, siblings, perfect. There's also a book that we're going to get in, I think, here, called A Joy of Little Things by Hannah Jan Parkinson. And just sounds like a lovely all-rounder, which would be perfect for anybody, I think.
Yeah, that one I think is about looking at finding the joy in just small things that, like having a nice bubble bath or wrapping up in a nice warm coat and just appreciating it more. Sometimes it can be easy to look at the big picture and go, oh, I'm getting way down, as Matt Haig would document very well in the Canva book, no doubt. Just like finding, as it says, joy in everyday small things.
Seeing a cute dog on your walk, something like that.
Absolutely.
Perfect, day maker.
Absolutely. Always puts a smile on my face too. So there we go.
Yeah, but in Waterstones as well, if you look on the website or just in store, there's a lot of literary gifts that aren't books. So I found one that is a book club kit. So it's a little kit with how to make your book club better. And lots of literary themed games and puzzles, which are always perfect for Christmas Day. So there's loads.
Yeah.
Loads of good things, but those are some of our
brilliant.
top
So yeah,
choices.
plenty of Christmas gifts. Thank you, Miss Ray. Plenty of Christmas gifts. Merry Christmas.
It's only November.
It's only November, but let's say you
Never
never
too
say it too
soon.
early. Never too soon. Okay, so next up, very exciting, we've got our next special guest, and our special guest for this episode of Off the Shelf is Miss Plumley, who will be sharing with us her likes, dislikes, and various things about reading. So, without further ado, over to you, Miss Plumley.
The favourite book that I remember reading from my childhood is a book by Jean Eyre called After the Plague. And looking back on it now, it's actually part of a trilogy, and it tells the story of a world in the early 2000s where there has been a terrible disease that spread across the globe and resulted in really massive structural changes in society, and particularly in the way that men and women interact and the structures of societies and gender relations. And I just remember being really excited by it. I reread it as an adult recently, and it's got some really big ideas in there, but it's certainly very teenage friendly. So yeah, Gina After the Plague. So my choice for this one is by the comedian Sarah Pascoe, called Animal. I think this is essential reading for women, particularly women in the sixth form getting ready to go out into the world. It takes you on a journey through female anatomy, hormones, relationships, childbearing, pregnancy, and it's like, I guess it's like a comical manual to what it's like to have a woman's body, and it's all done with great humour because she is a stand-up comic anyway, and she's got this really interesting style where it's monologue, but it's sort of also with kind of comic interjections and pictures and doodles, so it's a really interesting and really useful book for women. There are many, and I struggled to make my decision for this, but I would have to go with Harari's book, Sapiens. This literally blew my mind. I've shared it as a recommendation with other staff members, and I know that it's blown their minds as well. He takes you on a history of the human race, humankind, from our very, very early origins. So it's a history book, but it's also anthropology, it's sociology. It also looks at the role that money has played in society and the globe and relationships between nations. It's mind-blowing, and it's going to completely change your attitude to us as a species, where we've come from, where we've been. It takes you through the three revolutions, including like the agricultural revolution, the scientific revolution, and then I think it refers to it as the technological revolution, and it's mind-blowing. It'll completely change your attitude to what it means to be a human and get you to reflect on how you're living your life and whether the way that we live our lives is actually compatible with our kind of biology and our DNA. So that would be my one. So I chose to interpret that question in a way that means, what book do you read when you need to get better direction and focus in life? Because there's a lot of things going on, and how do you know that you're doing the right thing and when to do it, and where's the direction of your life taking you? I would have to pick this. This is a gift from a friend, and it's a really, really good book. This man, Jay Shetty, grew up in a sort of a regular family, and with parents who wanted him to become a doctor, a lawyer, or perhaps even a businessman. And every summer for many years, he would spend part of his time in an ashram in India with monks, and part of his time with a blue chip corporation. And it comes to the end of his, I think it's his secondary or college education, and he turns around to his parents and he says, I'm going to go and be a monk. So he goes to India, and he spends 3 years out there sort of learning about Buddhist teaching, until his teacher turns to him one day and says, do you know what? You would be of much better value in the world if you were to share what you've learned here with everybody else and help them overcome challenges such as pressure, poor self-esteem, stress. So this is a really easy kind of manual to learn about their teachings and their practices, and it's really enlightening and it's really uplifting. Education is great, and education can give you knowledge, but if you don't know in what direction to point that knowledge, you're a map without a compass. So books like this, I think, are really useful for you to find your meaning, find your purpose, and know where you want to go in life and the things you want to do. Jay Shetty. He also has a podcast. Okay, this is a really hard choice. So I've chosen 3 novels that are really fat, because I'm imagining I'm going to have a lot of time on a desert island to enjoy myself and lose myself in a different world. I would choose this one, Shantaram, by Gregory David Roberts. Again, this is a fiction book written by a man and largely based on a true story. A man who was incarcerated, who was a criminal, who escaped, and who makes his way to India and becomes part of the under criminal class. I think he ends up living in Mumbai, but it's also a love story. He meets someone out there, and it's just this incredible poetic adventure, which is full of thrill and daring. It's very fat as well, and it's fantastic. My next one, and I've just picked a token Dickens off the shelf here in the library. I'd have to pick a Dickens. People's attitudes towards Dickens are varied, but I do think he's great for characterization. That he does so much in the way that he presents his characters and he names his characters, so I'd have to put in a Dickens there for some sort of light-hearted reading. And my next one, also a find for the last 2 years, I've got my copy here of Hilary Mantel's book Wolf Hall, which is number 1 in a series of 3, a trilogy again, that tells the life of Thomas Cromwell, one of Henry VIII's most trusted advisors, who he later then accuses of treason. And the incredible thing that Mantel does is not only does she make the past so modern. I mean, this book opens with Thomas Cromwell. I'm not going to spoil the story too much, but this opens with Thomas Cromwell getting beaten up by his father and getting kicked in the head by his father. And I remember reading the first page and thinking, what is going on? So it makes the past really live and really modern, which I loved. And the other thing she does is make Thomas Cromwell a likeable man. A lot of people have suggested that Thomas Cromwell was nasty, mean, calculating. He probably was, but he also perhaps was a thoughtful man and a family man, and that's what she does in the 3 books. So that by the time you get to the end, the mirror and the light, and you know that he's about to get executed, it's actually quite sad. But yeah, she's a great novelist as well. Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel.
Thank you for that, Miss Plumley. To finish off, we will let you all know who won the competition from the last episode. The winner is Medina with her haiku, Don't Let the Light Turn Out, which we really enjoyed reading. It was really lovely. So good job, Medina.
Thank you, well done, Medina. And so the next competition, we've alluded to it, Christmas is coming soon. We would like you to design a Christmas decoration for the library. It can take any form it likes, so long as it is somehow literary. It's got to refer to books in some way, okay? Now, the deadline for this is the end of this month, because we'd like to hang it up with our other Christmas decorations that we're going to put up in the library. So if you just pop your entry in the box that is on the library counter, and we look forward to seeing them. Yeah. So all that remains is for us to wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And we shall see you in the new year. Until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.